In 1976, British Leyland would launch one of its most consequential cars, the Rover SD1. With its tagline, "The car of tomorrow today," it definitely lived up to the claim, with its bold and futuristic styling. In some areas though, the SD1 didn't quite live up to the luxury it deserved, thanks to BL's management deciding it couldn't get too close to Jaguar, and of course the well-documented industrial unrest of the time that nearly killed one of Rover's best cars. But there was one series of Rover SD1s that took luxury and performance to the next level. A mysterious series of cars lost to time. A series of Rovers like no other. Cars from one of the most legendary customizers and converters the world has ever known. In the late 70s, two of the most legendary names in the motoring world would come together. The Rover SD1 and Wood Pickett, creators of some of the maddest Minis and Range Rovers ever made, to create the Prestige, one of the most mysterious Rovers ever made, and what some have called the ultimate Rover SD1. This is the Wood Pickett Prestige Uncovered, a Turbo 2600, a Rover SD1 like no other. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. This video is on the Rover SD1 Prestige, the ultimate in luxury Rover motoring for the 1980s. If you're not subscribed already, please make sure to do so. It really does help me out and you get to see more of this. More history videos, more cars and conversions uncovered, and more projects. What is your favourite SD1 memories, and do you have any Rover memories? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like the video if you liked it and share if you want other people to see it. But without further delay, let's get into this video on the ultimate Wood Pickett SD1. Wood Pickett are one of the most storied names in British motoring. The conversion specialist started in 1947 when Bill Wood and Les Pickett left their jobs at Hooper, which at the time was a major name in the London coach building industry. They left to start their own body shop. Thanks to the talent of the two and the team they employed, this progressed into what would be one of their most famous models. In the wake of the luxury Minis by Radford, such as the 1963 DeVille, a new market exploded onto the scene for those with a bit more cash to spend. That market would lead to the Mini Margrave, a Wood Pickett model based on the Mini, with some exceptional tweaks. From the signature dashboard to the infinite customizability, the Margrave had it all, and eventually it would supplant the market's creator Radford in total sales towards the end of the 1960s. While the Margrave was successful, Wood Pickett understood, now with Eddie Collins at the helm, that they needed to diversify. As the 60s turned to the 70s, the Range Rover would burst onto the scene. Arguably a bit more agricultural than the Range Rovers of today, Wood Pickett saw this as an opportunity to create another line of cars. With that, the Sheer Rovers were born. This success would lead the team towards diversifying their range, but the question was, what car next? Luckily for them, in 1976, British Leyland and Rover would launch one of their most consequential cars, the Rover SD1, the car for tomorrow, today. Everything about the SD1 was fantastic, except for its execution of course. By 1979 the Rover SD1 had seen its fair share of ups and downs, but it was now on the up, after staving off the industrial decay that was causing its very future to be in doubt. The Rover SD1 though wasn't just a victim of its time, it was a victim of poor management. Because of Rover's proximity to Jaguar, the SD1 had to be dumbed down, with its level of luxury restricted so it didn't get too close to its internal rival. Initially, the most luxurious Rover SD1 was its V8 powered 3500 model. For its first few years, this was the best that could be offered. Wood Pickett decided that the SD1 needed a bit more prestige, and in 1978 set out to create the ultimate Rover SD1. This new car needed to ooze the illustrious presence of its predecessors. This was something the SD1 lacked according to some at the time. It was too big of a step forward compared to the P6 in terms of parting with the tradition of the great British saloons of years prior. The car chosen would be the Rover 2600, the inline 6-cylinder version of the SD1. It would be given the usual Wood Pickett treatment in their Rarest headquarters. The brief was simple: take this Rover to the max, to create one of the most luxurious Rovers ever built. Bring the luxury of the 1960s forward with the technology of the day. The first area to spruce up would be the Rover's interior, criticised at the time for being too minimalist. The Margrave's dashboard would be used to inspire the new walnut veneer, and a completely new dash top housing the instruments, with yet another glove box, as if two wasn't enough. It went more traditional, moving away from the minimalist dashboard originally fitted to the car to something a bit more Bentley-esque. That wasn't the end of the wood treatment either. New door cappings were added, perfectly fitting in with the Series 1's integrated ashtrays. The wheel would be changed for a more standard Wood Pickett model, moving away from the bus driver-like original. The instrumentation, while close to the original, would have an added computer-controlled cruise and trip computer, something the standard car wouldn't get until the 1980s. This car was really ahead of the curve, a complete departure from the original, in a good way. Gone was the plastic, and in was the ultra luxury. Finishing off the interior was Wilton carpeting, extra sound deadening, Draylon upholstery, and of course the famous Recaro C-type seats, with added electrical adjustment, including 3 air bladders, and stereo headrests for both passenger and driver. But there was more, much more. To enter this marvellous interior, you'd need to use the keyless entry system, a pin pad on the pillar that allowed a custom code to be set to unlock the car, arguably more secure than some of the modern day Range Rovers. On the exterior, the car would be repainted with coach builders fine lining and could be optioned in two-tone with chrome wire wheels. But the spoiler at the rear and the air dam at the front hinted to its sporting credentials. You see, this was no ordinary Rover 2600. Unlike most would have you believe, the PE166 that powered the 2600 and 2300 wasn't made out of chocolate, nor was it that fragile. The poor maintenance, Rover's service interval change, and of course the terrible oils of the time really did a number on these engines. This car would prove the doubters wrong, with its PE166 fitted with a turbo kit from Janspeed, an exceptional performance addition once again proving the 2600 had what it took. This option still needed to be tested and tuned, but all of the work by Wood Pickett created the demonstrator car with registration 99EFC. This car would be owned by Eddie Francis Collins, Wood Pickett's then managing director. The options for customers were nearly unlimited, but the basic list was as follows. Exterior modifications, a front air dam, rear spoiler, fog lights, paint highlighting on the lower panels, two-tone paint, coach builders fine lining and chrome wire wheels. Interior would include a deep burr walnut veneer fascia with door cappings, a new steering wheel either in polished wood or black leather, C-type Recaro front seats with Draylon retrim, new head restraints with stereo speakers and an electric moonshine roof. Mechanical modifications would include the digital keyless entry pin pad, electronic cruise, fuel and trip computer, and of course the headline item, the turbocharger, and its accompanying gauge. In total at the time, the 2.6 litre automatic would have cost £8,637.98, with the modifications, if all boxes were ticked, coming up to a staggering £9,377.03, way more than the car it was based on. The final total, including fitting and VAT and the car, would be £18,015.01, which is equivalent to around £87,000 today. 99EFC would be given to the press, featuring in a few conversion magazines, but it seemed to be a bit pointless to some. After all, months after its introduction, the flagship V8S, and later, in 1980, the Vanden Plas, would become the kings of Rover's luxury. The Prestige seemed a bit too much compared, losing a lot of its minimalist charm by attempting to go back to the 1950s and 60s. 99EFC would see a paint transformation and some of its badging removed, but this would ultimately disappear. The performance figures for this car is unknown, but it is said the turbocharger raised the total bhp from 136 to 177, a comfortable amount for the SD1 at the time. According to renowned Rover SD1 writer and historian Karen Pender, only 5 conversions were made. With this being stated in 1998, it's likely these cars are now long gone, with the most likely survivor being Eddie's own, registered 99 EFC, but this plate has been transferred, making the car impossible to track. Sadly though, it is rumoured this car has been scrapped. The Rover SD1 Prestige, whether you like it or not, is another odd entry into the history of one of British Leyland's most promising cars. But the question is, do any survive, or is there any more information? All that exists now of all this hard work is articles, second-hand information and old brochures, and one autocar review from 1981. The Prestige has simply vanished, leaving another Rover mystery to solve. Of all the weird and wonderful conversions, the Prestige has to be one of the most out there, coming in at a close second to the Cat SD1. And that is the end of the video. What is your opinion on Wood Pickett's Rover Prestige? Do you have any more information? Let me know in the comments below. But as always, thank you for watching, keep watching and remember to subscribe for more of this, and I'll see you in the next one.